Hi everybody, IGN here at San Diego Comic-Con 2016, where we just got out of the Hall H Game of Thrones panel, where the cast and crew were on hand to talk about what happened in Season 7 and what they expect out of Season 8. For me, though, the most emotional moment of the whole thing was seeing Christian Nairn come out. He's the guy who played Hodor, and as soon as he took the stage, everybody just got really emotional. They were shouting, "Hodor, Hodor, Hodor," and you could see him like legitimately starting to tear up a little bit. It was a very emotional moment. On the logistical side, they talked a little bit about the production and being shifted back a little bit. They need the locations that they're shooting to actually be in winter now that winter has come to Westeros, which means a later shooting date for the series, which means a later post-production date, which accounts for the release of the show in summer rather than in spring. We also talked a little bit with Miguel Sapochnik, who was the director of 2 episodes this year, notably Battle of the Bastards, where Jon Snow and Ramsay Bolton went at each other in this gigantic climactic battle. They talked a little bit about the budgetary concerns. You know, they opted not to use horses because it was going to be too expensive, and it was ultimately dangerous to have horses running at men on foot. So they changed the tenor of the battle a little bit. They talked a little bit about the production of the bodies, too. You have these giant mounds of bodies that are actually acting as terrain on the field. There are 257 different bodies that the art department would move around in between shots to create the terrain for the battle. We also heard from Sophie Turner, who talked about Sansa's hopes for the future. She did say that she feels like Sansa would want Jon and Sansa to be king and queen of the North, but ultimately she said she feels like Sansa is way more qualified than Jon is because she's smarter and more intelligent than he is, which I thought was a really great answer for Sansa. Interestingly, at the very end, the moderator of the panel asked each of the actors who they thought would sit the Iron Throne at the end of the series, or who their character would want to sit the Iron Throne, and got a wide range of amazing answers. Varys said he knew, but he wasn't going to say, which is perfectly in keeping with his character. We heard Sansa say that she thought Littlefinger should sit on the Iron Throne, which evoked cries of shame, shame, shame from the crowd. It was a really awesome moment. Ramsay had a very un-Ramsay answer. He said, melt the whole thing down and turn Westeros into a representative democracy, which I thought was very clever. But my favorite was Hodor's answer, where he said, it's not really going to matter who's on the Iron Throne. It's not going to be relevant by the end of the series because it's going to end, presumably, with the climactic battle between the forces of good and evil, between whoever the political powers are in Westeros and the Night's King. But if pressed, he would want to see somebody with honor and integrity sit on the Iron Throne, and so he's throwing his weight behind Brienne. At the very end of the panel, we saw a little bit of footage, nothing from the actual show itself. It was mostly just props being assembled, crafts being made, script pages being printed up, and scenery being painted. But it was very interesting to see that, get excited about the new series coming up in the summer of next year, but we still don't have a release date. So for everything here at Comic-Con, all things Game of Thrones, you're already in the place you need to be, IGN.